Hello everyone, in this video we will complete the rest of the information about King Ahmose. Enjoy watching. Reviving massive monumental constructions as well as the arts. However, as the defeat of the Hyksos occurred relatively late in Ahmose's reign, his subsequent building program likely lasted no more than 7 years, and much of what was started was probably finished by his son and successor Amenhotep I. Work from Ahmose's reign is made of much finer material than anything from the Second Intermediate period, though the craftsmanship from his reign does not always match the best work from either the Old or Middle Kingdoms. With the Delta and Nubia under Egyptian control once more, access was gained to resources not available in Upper Egypt. Gold and silver were received from Nubia, lapis lazuli from distant parts of Central Asia, cedar from Byblos, and in the Sinai the Sarabat el-Qadim turquoise mines were reopened. Although the exact nature of the relationship between Egypt and Crete is uncertain, at least some Minoan designs have been found on objects from this period, and Egypt considered the Aegean to be part of its empire. Ahmose reopened the Torah limestone quarries to provide stone for monuments and used Asiatic cattle from Phoenicia to haul the stone. According to his quarry inscription, the art during Ahmose's reign was similar to the Middle Kingdom royal Theban style, and stelae from this period were once more of the same quality. This reflects a possibly natural conservative tendency to revive fashions from the pre-Hyksos era. Despite this, only 3 positively identified statuary images of Ahmose I survived a single shabby kept at the British Museum, presumably from his tomb, which has never been positively located, into life-size statues, one of which resides in the New York Metropolitan Museum, the other in the Khartoum Museum. All display slightly bulging eyes, a feature also present on selected stelae depicting the pharaoh. Based on style, a small limestone sphinx that resides at the National Museum of Scotland, Edinburgh, has also been tentatively identified as representing Ahmose I. The art of glass making is thought to have developed during Ahmose's reign. The oldest samples of glass appear to have been defective pieces of faience, but intentional crafting of glass did not occur until the beginning of the 18th dynasty. One of the earliest glass beads found contains the names of both Ahmose and Amenhotep I, written in a style dated to about the time of their reigns. If glassmaking was developed no earlier than Ahmose's reign, and the first objects are dated to no later than his successor's reign, it is quite likely that it was one of his subjects who developed the craft. Ahmose resumed large construction projects like those before the Second Intermediate period. In the south of the country, he began constructing temples mostly built of brick, one of them in the Nubian town of Buan. In Upper Egypt he made additions to the existing temple of Amun at Karnak and to the temple of Montu at Armut. According to an inscription at Torah, he used white limestone to build a temple to Ptah in the southern harem of Amun, but did not finish either project. He built a cenotaph for his grandmother, Abydos. Excavations at the site of Avaris by Manfred Biedeck have shown that Ahmose had a palace constructed on the site of the former Hyksos capital city's fortifications. Biedeck found fragmentary Minoan-style remains of the frescoes that once covered the walls of the palace. Queennefertitidocumentary, and there has subsequently been much speculation as to what role this Aegean civilization may have played in terms of trade and in the arts. Under Ahmose's reign, the city of Thebes became the capital for the whole of Egypt, as it had been under the 11th dynasty in the early Middle Kingdom. It also became the center for a newly established professional civil service, where there was a greater demand for scribes and the literate as the royal archives began to fill with accounts and reports. Having Thebes as the capital was probably a strategic choice, as it was located at the center of the country. The logical conclusion from having had to fight the Hyksos in the north as well as the Nubians to the south. Any future opposition at either border could be met easily. Perhaps the most important shift was a religious one. Thebes effectively became the religious as well as the political center of the country, its local god Amun credited with inspiring Ahmose in his victories over the Hyksos. The importance of the temple complex at Karnak on the east bank of the Nile north of Thebes grew, and the importance of the previous cult of Ra, based in Heliopolis, diminished. Several stelae detailing the work done by Ahmose were found at Karnak, two of which depict him as a benefactor to the temple. In one of these stelae, known as the Tempest Stele, he claims to have rebuilt the pyramids of his predecessors at Thebes that had been destroyed by a major storm. The Thera eruption in the Aegean has been implicated by some scholars as the source of the damages described in the Tempest Stele. The remains of Ahmose's pyramid in Abydos were discovered in 1899 and identified as his in 1902. Most of its outer casing stones have been robbed for use in other building projects over the years. The mound of rubble upon which it was built has collapsed. However, 2 rows of intact casing stones were found by Ahmose, who estimated its steep slope as about 60 degrees, based on the evidence of the limestone casing compared to the less acute 51 degrees of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Adjacent to the main pyramid temple and to its east, Harvey has identified the temples constructed by Ahmose's brother. One of these structures also bears footsteps of the name of Chief Treasurer Nefertiti, the official responsible for the way opening the stone portals to Ahmose's authority in complex may be associated with a series of monuments strung out along a kilometer of desert. Along this axis are several key structures. One, a large pyramid dedicated to his grandmother Queennefertiti, which contained a stele depicting Ahmose providing offerings to her. Two, a rock-cut underground complex, which may either have served as a token representation of an Osirian underworld or as an actual royal tomb. And three, a terrace temple built against the high cliffs, featuring massive stone and brick terraces. These elements reflect in general a similar plan undertaken for the cenotaph of Senwar III, and in general its construction contains elements which reflect the style of both Old and Middle Kingdom pyramid complexes. There is some dispute as to if this pyramid was Ahmose's burial place, or if it was a cenotaph, although earlier explorers Mace and Curley were unable to locate any internal chambers. It is unlikely that a burial chamber would have been located in the midst of the pyramid's rubble. In the absence of any mention of a tomb of King Ahmose in the tomb robbery accounts of the Abbot papyrus, and in the absence of any likely candidate for the king's tomb at Thebes, it is possible that the king was interred at Abydos, as suggested by Harvey. Certainly, the great number of cult structures located at the base of the pyramid located in recent years, as well as the presence at the base of the pyramid of a cemetery used by priests of Ahmose's cult, argue for the importance of the king's Abydos cult. However, other Egyptologists believe that the pyramid was constructed like Tetisheri's pyramid at Abydos, as a cenotaph, and that Ahmose may have originally been buried in the southern part of Dra, Abu El Naga, for the rest of the late 17th and early 18th dynasties. This pyramid was the last pyramid ever built as part of a mortuary complex in Egypt. The pyramid would be abandoned by subsequent pharaohs of the New Kingdom, for both practical and religious reasons. The Giza Plateau offered plenty of room for building pyramids, but this was not the case with the confined, cliff-bound geography of Thebes. Any burials in the surrounding desert were vulnerable to flooding. The pyramid form was associated with the sun god Re, who had been overshadowed by Amun in importance. One of the meanings of Amun's name was the hidden one, which meant that it was now theologically permissible to hide the pharaoh's tomb by fully separating the mortuary template from the actual burial place. This provided the added advantage that the resting place of the pharaoh could be kept hidden from necropolis robbers. All subsequent pharaohs of the New Kingdom would be buried in rock-cut shaft tombs in the Valley of the Kings. Ahmose's mummy was discovered in 1881 within the Deir el-Bahari Cache, located in the hills directly above the mortuary temple of Hatshepsut. He was interred along with the mummies of other 18th and 19th dynasty leaders Amenhotep I, Thutmose I, Thutmose II, Thutmose III, Ramesses I, Seti I, Ramesses II and Ramesses IX, as well as the 21st dynasty pharaohs Penejim II and Siamen. Ahmose's mummy was enwrapped by Gaston Maspero on June 9, 1886. It was found within a coffin that bore his name in hieroglyphs, and on his bandages his name was again written in hieratic script. While the cedarwood coffin style dates it squarely to the time of the 18th dynasty, it was neither of royal style nor classical, and any gilding or inlays may have been stripped in antiquity. He had evidently been moved from his original burial place. Ray wrapped and placed within the cache at Deir el-Bahari during the reign of the 21st dynasty priest King Queennefertitidocumentary, whose name also appeared on the mummy's wrappings. Around his neck a garland of delphinium flowers had been placed. The body bore signs of having been plundered by ancient grave robbers, his head having been broken off from his body and his nose smashed. The body was 1.63 meters 64 in height. The mummy had a small face with no defining features, though he had slightly prominent front teeth. This may have been an inherited family trait, as this feature can be seen in some female mummies of the same family, as well as the mummy of his descendant, Thutmose I. A short description of the mummy of the Gaston Maspero sheds further light on familial resemblances. He was of medium height, as his body when mummified measured only 5 feet 6 inches 1, 68 in length, but the development of the neck and chest indicates extraordinary strength. The head is small in proportion to the bust, the forehead low and narrow,